Good afternoon, Dan. Today is June 15th, 2010. I saw your last video, and I gotta say I'm impressed. You did a little constitutional homework there. However, you're wrong. First of all, I want to quickly get to your issue about the taxing power. You said that Congress has power under the taxing power to pass this regulation. However, the problem with that is, if you take a plain meaning of the taxing power, yes, you'd be right. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court has held in a number of cases that Congress cannot use its taxing power in order to circumvent other things in its way in order to get what it wants. For example, in Bailey versus Drexel Furniture Company, 1922, Congress passed. The issue was the Child Labor Act, in which Congress passed a very high tax on employers who employed children. And essentially what they did was they made the tax so high that no company could effectively employ children, and that was seen as a way to sort of use the taxing power to outlaw child labor. However, the court found that you can't pass a tax unless the purpose is to raise revenue. You can't pass a tax to serve some other purpose. Or, as Chief Justice Taft eloquently put it, the tax must be naturally and reasonably adopted for the collection of the tax, and not solely to the achievement of some other purpose plainly within the state's power. So I think we could just dispose with that part of the argument. To be honest with you, you're just wrong on this issue. Any constitutional law person will tell you that it's not an issue of spending of tax power. It's an issue of the Commerce Clause of the Interstate Commerce Clause power. So let's just stick with that, because that's the justification that's given for that aspect of the healthcare bill. Now, in terms of what you said in terms of Gonzalez versus Raich, you gave me a quoted passage which comes from Lopez, but it's still from Gonzalez versus Raich. The only problem with that is the quote that you gave me, and I'll see if I can read it back to you. An essential part of a larger regulation of economic activity in which the regulatory scheme could be undercut unless the intrastate activity were regulated. Again, the important part here is that there still needs to be at least intrastate activity, or at least some form of activity, or at least some form of commerce going on. That's not what this regulation does. This regulation actually regulates inactivity. It's regulating non-commerce. It's saying if you don't participate, then you have to pay the tax. So that's not Congress, saying, oh, let's pass regulation to, some other regulation work. It's regulating